before we can get rolling on that 59 Apache project, I've got another obligation that I need to tend to here. This is my Uncle Dan's 62 Olds F85 Cutlass. He dropped it off in like May. It's now February. It's been packed in my lean-to since then. In 9 months, we better have this baby. But the reason it's here, I'll let him tell you himself. Get it right from the horse's mouth than me screwing it up.
Hey there. I'm Dan. I own the WORMDRIVE project. My nephew up at H's Performance asked me to do a little backstory for everybody to let you know a little bit about the story behind the car. So the car is a 1962 F85 Cutlass, Oldsmobile Cutlass. Most people don't know that before we had an actual Oldsmobile Cutlass, we had an F85, and the Cutlass was a subversion of that. So it was like the sport version. So like when you have a Camaro and it's an SS Camaro, the SS is a sport. Well, the F85 sport version was the Cutlass. So then the Cutlass became its own car after that. Back when I was a teenager, I bought this car from my stepsister. She drove in the yard with this car, and I thought, you know, that's kind of a cool looking car, and I talked her into selling it to me to go back. I had it for a little while. It felt to me like the rear end was, or the transmission was slipping in reverse. And I'm like, I didn't have the money to put into the car. It would have been great to save it and restore it, but I lived in an apartment with my mother, so there was just no way I had any place to put this car or hold it or do anything with it. So I had a friend of mine who was a little younger than me. His name's Randy. I sold Randy the car for pretty much what I paid for it. And Randy kept the car. Now this is back when I was a teenager. I'm 57 now. This is back in my, I don't know, 18, 19-year-old days. Somewhere in that area. Maybe a little younger, maybe a little older. Probably a little younger. Anyway, Randy lived with his mom on a farm outside of town. And then about 4, maybe 5 years ago, I think 5 years ago now, I ran into Randy. And we got talking about the car, and he said he still had it. So I spent probably the next year trying to buy it back from him. And I finally, after, trying, he finally decided that he would give it up. And we negotiated a price that it wasn't what he wanted. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was somewhere in between, and I did promise him I wouldn't tell anybody how much I paid for it, so I'm not going to tell you that part. Bought it from Randy. I found out the reason Randy never sold the car was because the title was still in my stepsister's name because I never titled it. He never titled it, and apparently she signed it in the wrong spot. And he had no way of contacting me or her, he didn't even know who she was, to get a different title or get it fixed. So he just never did anything with it. When I got the car back, luckily my stepsister was still alive, because, we're getting up there. And I called her up and gave her the VIN number, and she called the DMV and went up there, and she got a new title for it. And lo and behold, a little while later, we had a title for the car. Titled it in mine and Rachel's name, and put hobbyist plates on it. I think, yeah, it's up there. The decision was made to try to make something better out of the car, and I thought, well, why not do a Restomod? And seeing as the car was such an odd duck, why not use another car for a donor vehicle that was an odd duck? So we used a 2003 Cadillac CTS rear-wheel drive, 5-speed manual. I think it's a 3.4 liter V6, 220 horsepower. We thought that was pretty good because the original V8 only had 185, so figured that'd be a little bit more oomph, and we'd still keep the car kind of an oddball. So we got the car and we tore it down and tore it to pieces, and you can actually go on to the WORMDRIVE project on Facebook and see videos and all sorts of stuff, and a little bit of everything that we've done and didn't do and whatever. And so right now I decided that the floorboards were in a firewall was way past what I could possibly do. So we sent the whole thing up to Josh at H's Performance, and he's going to redo firewall, floorboard, a couple other little pieces for me, get some metal work done that I can't do, and then hopefully here in the spring sometime we'll get her back, and then we'll start putting her back together and filming and doing more to it. But that's pretty much my backstory. This is a car I owned, I don't know, 30 plus years ago that returned to me, and now is being handed to my nephew to help me get going again. And hopefully we'll get her running. We'll have a nice little car to scoot around in. We're trying to keep everything there is to keep. Air conditioning, heater, this was a manual or an automatic. Now it's going to be a manual. Pretty much kept a lot of the Cadillac stuff. We took the Cadillac's platform is built in two pieces. There's a carriage in the front, a carriage in the back. We unbolted them from the Cadillac, and we have married them into the Cutlass, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but that's the only good way to put it. It's not like they were made for each other. We're fabricating as much as we can to make it work. There's been a lot of hands in here and there and a lot of people helping out, but Josh is going to be the biggest one. So, Josh, here's your backstory. I hope your viewers enjoy it. I don't know if it's what you wanted, but it's what you're getting. So, have a good one. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you on the WORMDRIVE page later on.
Well, here's what we're working with. I vacuumed all the junk out of here, and I was able to tear them old seat brackets and stuff just out with a pry bar. The center console is where it needs to be as far as clearance for the transmission and whatnot. And it's loosely attached up there. I mean, it's solid in there, it doesn't move, but it's kind of being a placeholder back there and here. So I think I'm going to replace this floor pan in sections. Probably start with the main part here. And I'll probably do to the back of the seats. One section. And then another section for the back here. And the firewall location moved too. It moved back. You can see there. I'm quite decided what I'm doing there yet. But I'll start by gutting these floor pans one side at a time. As bad as that floor was, it's crazy how good these braces are. It almost looks like it's galvanized. I don't know if they did that on these old cars or what. Kind of cool though. Look. And it's good shiny metal there that was in the pocket here. Anyway, this trans tunnel had a weird double layer here. the lower portion better matches into what we got going on here. So I trimmed that upper layer off. Kind of making it up as we go here. You can see this car's been in some sort of a wreck at one time. The weld there. Looks like they replaced the outer rocker. It's welded here. That's cracked. But, you can see where it was welded along here, and when they replaced the outer, they never welded the inner back to it, just the bottom. What the deal is there. But yeah, I gotta cut the inner rocker out. That's junk. The outer's in really nice shape. To do some patching there. You can't weld the rust. It just doesn't work. Well, I diced another 6 inches off of this toe board here to expose this brace. This brace ties this, I guess you'd call it the unibody frame, to the outer rocker. This is a unibody car, so that's where all the strength comes from. This floor brace and the outer rocker structure. Yeah, this is a tough one. Trying to chase the rust up, and you can see I poked a hole through that. I've been hitting it with my pick hammer to see what's solid and what isn't. The cowl's rotted through there, and we're gonna have to draw the line somewhere, because obviously I'm gonna have to patch some of this in, but I don't think the piece behind it's any good either. And if we keep chasing this rust, pretty soon we won't have a car left. We'll be up into the frickin' roof skin. So yeah, I guess the objective here is just to get into something solid, and so we can seal it up and make it safe. It's a common problem. Where do you start? Where do you stop? You need to draw the line somewhere, I guess, and not kid yourself on what you're getting into and what's possible. Well, I popped the pedal assembly out of this thing. I'm trying to get a game plan going here to piece this firewall back together. You can see the wiper cowl is opened up here, so the inside of the car is no longer sealed off from the engine compartment. So I think what we're going to do here, to make things a little easier, is we'll cap the wiper cowl. I've seen that done a bunch of times, and we're going to completely gut that whole wiper cowl out of there. And see, this is all no good too. I see something mounts here. Probably the cowl piece screws onto here. So we'll leave them screw holes, and I think I'm going to slice this across and then cut this whole wiper cowl assembly out and get it out of there. It doesn't really serve any purpose anymore anyways, and we'll be able to piece it back together anyway. Yeah, I think that's what we have to do. Well, I picked her up to clean up my mess underneath and assess what needs to be done with this rear tunnel section. You see I welded a piece in here temporarily just to keep that where it belongs before I took too much floor out and lost the location that Dan had it in. So it's kind of looking like that back part of the tunnel needs to go up. I need to cut that out and extend that. If you come up here and look down it, looks like it should be in the way to me. So this brace here has to go. Probably notch it, but we still need something tying the car together back here, so we'll have to do something about that. And I was whacking on it with my pick hammer from up top, and I do need to go back into this section. I got a hole there and some issues up there yet. I really didn't want to go back into that back seat area, but it is what it is. From this angle you can see pretty well the old firewall versus the new one. Probably a good 6 inches that's getting set back, and that's to accommodate the engine that's going in here with the wheelbase and everything. And with that, he's running the modern Cadillac dash, so all that'll be pushed back as well. So the front seats will be, you know, set back probably between 6 inches and a foot. So that being said, the floor section for the back seat really isn't needed anymore. I'm probably gonna bring it back to this joint here and come down there and then over, just to make it a little easier on myself to fabricate that stuff. I'll give you a look at this rust in the back here from the top side. I think I'm just gonna try and patch this side piece in and attempt not to get too carried away like I normally do and replace the whole thing. There's nothing wrong with this metal section at all. Like I said, from underneath, I think that brace comes right here. Yeah, this is that brace. So I think I'm gonna try and tie back in right there along that line and extend this tunnel back to where it meets the top of that hump there. Here's the gut pile so far. Only sprung one leak. I don't know if you caught that on the time lapse or not, but that's a lot of jagged metal for one little cut. We're doing pretty good. Well, I got everything cut out there. See what happens when I left to my own devices. I found a couple other bad spots, so I took the whole works out. I've got the laser level set up here, centered up on the chassis, and I had to move this tunnel over about an inch to get her centered up. I'm centered on the pinion here. Get ready to start putting some of this back together. I've got the trans tunnel centered up now, front to back. Had to do a little more clearancing up in that corner over there. But I got it sitting right, and now you can see that cross member is going to be right in the way for the drive shaft. So we made the right move there. We'll cut that baby out of there next. I've got this lower A-pillar cut out. There's the piece I cut out. I'll kind of use that as a template. I try not to mutilate it too much taking it apart. So here's the other side where I have to do the same thing. Pretty crusty. But the plan here, the firewall moved back into the car, so I'm gonna make this piece and extend the top so it covers this whole vent. I'm not gonna try and pursue all this rust here because, like I said before, where do you stop? Where do you start? Yeah. First thing I'm gonna do is rebuild this inner rocker. I've got a piece set up. I'm gonna put 14 gauge back in there. I've got 2 sheets of 18 gauge to do the floor pans. The rockers on this car are 16. I'm gonna go back with a piece of 14 in there. That's what I've got. So I'll get that cut out and start piecing this back together. Well, that's not looking too bad. Got something to mount our firewall to now. Got a little gappage here. Bust out the old smashed copper pipe, stick that on the back side, and be able to weld right to that, and it won't stick to it. Well, I got the laser set up on the firewall here. I'm just catching the edge of that thing, and it's just poking through the other side where I'm in line. And check this out. You can see exactly where that firewall panel is going to land on the cowl, down on the frame, and inside the cowl here. Man, I love that thing. Well, I've been staring at this for a while, trying to figure out how I'm going to tie the body back into the frame. Since we cut that brace that came down here out, really the only thing that's holding the body of the car onto the unibody frame is this little bit of inner fender here that I haven't cut out. So, I got me a piece of a 2" by 1/8 angle in there. And that's going to work out nice. I'm catching this kind of molded brace that's made into that firewall piece, and catching the body out here. This, you can see the red lines hitting my finger. That represents the firewall, so that'll give me a nice place to come up with my new firewall and transition to the flat. Something nice to mount it to. I think with this thing I'm going to try and extend it and continue on with it with some sheet metal. Tie into where it lands on the frame here. Make it kind of look like it flows. Like it belongs there maybe. And yeah, it'd be nice to get this tunnel secured and not hanging by tie wire. I've got the driver's side dissected out now. Very much of the same as the passenger side. My template I made for the other side is going to work. And I shimmed the rocker up there before I cut it all apart, because this side has very little holding the body onto the frame yet. But yeah, we're looking good. Get that piece done. Before I do that other inner rocker, I'm going to focus more on this firewall, get this closed in. Got my other brace made there, and I've got the tunnel tacked to it, and she's rock solid now. It doesn't move anywhere, which is nice. Stuff's not moving around when you're trying to get it laid out. I've got the laser back out here, and I'm trying to get this cowl capped in so we can seal up this firewall. Been whittling away there. You can see the laser is right on the edge of that. The new firewall is going to lay just like that, and I'm going to cap this corner in to seal the firewall off. No working no more. What a piece of shit. Also, this new shear I have, I've had it for a while. This is the first time I really used it. It cuts really easy, way easier than that other piece of shit. But it's made for a right-handed individual. The year or whatever your drop comes out of this side and it curls it up, which I used. I had to straighten it out. If you try to go from that side, it would just mutilate the sheet and probably wouldn't go because it needs to bend whatever your drop needs to bend up out of the way. But yeah, aside from that, that means I have to pretty much stand on the sheet to get across it. Tell you what, it's tough being left-handed in a right-handed world. Making another flange strip here. Didn't figure you wanted to watch me make another one. But my arm got tired on the first one, banging that, tipping that edge over. And I had an idea. I'm in the process of taking my English wheel there. I could see a hose coming out of there. I'm building a Planishing Hammer attachment to it. I just stole one of them dies and put it in my long barrel and tipped that in like, I don't know, 10 seconds. It's flat. Should have probably used the other air hammer. This thing hits really hard when it does hit. Half the time it doesn't work, but marred her up a bit. But man, that's pretty neat. How neat is that? I've been working this next piece on the old shrinker and stretcher for a little bit here. I think I got her pretty much matched up to the curvature of this top of the cowl here. She's looking good. This is going to go up underneath. Can't do it one-handed, but you get the idea. That's what I'm talking about. It's got one vice grip on each side, and I've got 0 gappage all the way across. Nice consistent radius there.
Yep, just doing a little welding today, grinding, getting ready to put a new firewall in this car. Let me flip my camera around here. There we go. See, I made a flange that goes all the way around. Yep, Yep. She's getting there. Yep. Looking pretty good.
And I'm trimming up this trans tunnel here, make it look a little better. And I used the old washer trick here to trace this out. Just set that washer on there and stuck a marker in the hole and rolled it all the way around the perimeter to get me a nice consistent flange here. And I'm trimming that out, and look at this crap. That is made out of 2 super thin gauge pieces of sheet metal that are got a layer of glue between. So that's going to be a real frickin' treat to weld, I'm sure. Well, boys and girls, let's get out our paper, crayons, tape, scissors. It's arts and crafts time. Got my template made. Let's turn her into steel. Bam! Well, you see me bead roll that stepper on the edge. Kind of got it sitting out flush with my flange there. Kind of gives it a nice clean look. I was going to put a bead in this panel here, but I don't know. Having second thoughts. It's looking pretty slick and clean. My buddy Cody came over, and I didn't film much because it's just weird filming with people around, I guess. But I got this other piece made. I got one more section to make down there. Didn't pay to make it out of one big piece and then you know, cut the whole middle out of it. But for this side, I actually reused my template from the passenger side. Just flipped it over and cut what I needed off it, and I'll do the same for the bottom part. What's left here for the bottom of it. Give you a look on the inside here. I'm liking it. I think that ought to work. You ever gonna fix that light? I think we're gonna cut this video off right here. Lots to do yet on this project, and I've actually got most of it done, but figured I better end this video here. It's getting pretty long. You guys probably got to pee by now. But yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Lots more to come. Thanks for watching.